The Dead Man's Float. It was probably around 10 years ago that I went on a cruise with my wife, Georgia, and probably about 8 or 10 people from our Sunday school class, good friends of ours. And it was on one of these days that we were at sea. Usually you're at an island and you're at sea, then an island at sea. Well, on one of these days at sea, we're looking for things to do. So we went into the pool. It's an outdoor pool. It wasn't real big. I mean, it wasn't like an Olympic-sized pool. It was maybe like 30 feet by 20 feet. And there were a few of them on this deck. And I like water. I have always liked water. And I don't know how to attribute this, except for 9 months before I was actually conceived, I was living in water. And I came out and I've liked water ever since. I swim underwater. I do backstroke. I do regular. I do breaststroke. But my probably favorite stroke, or the thing I'm best at as far as skill, is a dead man's float. Well, on this particular afternoon in the pool, I'm with Georgia, and I say, I'm going to do a dead man's float, which is, I don't know if you ever seen this, it's like you lay face down on top of the water, arms spread out, legs spread out, and you kind of look dead, actually. And I said, I want you to count and see how long I'm under the water. She said, okay. So I take 3 deep breaths. I hold the third breath, and then I go under. And I'm counting. And I'm counting to what was about 90 or 100 seconds. I can't walk, but I could hold my breath somehow. So I thought I was doing pretty good. So I come up out of the water. I asked Georgia, I said, Georgia, I was wanting a couple of pats on the back, a couple of accolades. I said, how long was I under the water? I was fishing for a compliment. She said, well, you were under there about 20 seconds. I went, 20 seconds? How do you figure that out? How are you counting? She said, well, it was simple. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. And then she says, you came up on 20. I went, but those aren't seconds. So I gave her my watch. I said, let's try this again. And just as I was about to do this, our friend Beverly comes into the pool, and she says, what are y'all doing? And I told her, I said, I'm going to do a dead man's float. She said, really? She said, what's that? And I told her. She said, can you hold your breath for a while? I said, considerable, depending who's counting. Thinking if Georgia doesn't count as Mississippi stuff, it'd be a lot longer. I said, I could hold it for pretty good while, you know. Maybe I was bragging a little bit. I don't know. Who knows? So she said, I like to see. I said, okay. Now, Beverly, I'm doing this dead man's float. Now, this is going to be important. It's going to be important. There's a couple of things we need to go over. One is when I hold my breath and I do this dead man's float, I'm not actually dead. It kind of looks like I'm dead. So realize this when I'm under the water. Do you understand what I'm saying? She said, oh, yes. Now, Beverly is a little bit nervous. Beverly is kind of an anxious kind of a friend of ours who I love to death. You know, she's just a little anxious. So I was just wanting to warn her. So she said, okay, all right. So again, I count to 3. On the third deep breath, I hold it and I commence to float on top of the water as a dead man's float. So I'm counting to myself, I'm counting 30, I'm counting 35, 40, 45. And I hear Beverly say, because she and Georgia standing right next to me in the pool, she said, Georgia, I think it's kind of long enough, don't you think? And Georgia said, no, it's okay. It's all right, don't worry about it. He can do this. She said, all right. 60 seconds, 65 seconds, 75 seconds. Beverly said, Georgia, and I could hear panic in her voice. She said, I really think we need to get him up. I think there's an accident happened. George said, I think he's okay. 90 seconds. Now Beverly's getting real nervous. I could hear it in her voice. She said, Georgia knows something. I think he maybe passed out or something. It's just not good. So I'm smiling to myself under the water, if you could imagine this. I'm thinking, did Beverly forget what I told her about the fact that I really wasn't dead, but I was just floating, looking like I was going to be dead? It's got to be 100 seconds. And then I hear Beverly say, I can't stand it no more, George, I can't. And again, I'm just smiling. I have a feeling I think I know what's going to happen next, but I went, no, not really. Well, in the next second, I feel an arm come under my neck and yank me up out of the water. And I looked at Beverly. She had such a panicked look on her face. She went, Paul, I saved you, didn't I? Oh, I didn't know what to say. Beverly, you remember I said I wasn't really gonna look dead. I wasn't really gonna be dead. Yeah, but I think there's something was really wrong, Paul. I really thought you were dead. So I thanked her for saving me. And who knows anymore, But let me say this, friends. I know this may sound funny, however. There was a period in my life when actually I was dead, but I was dead spiritually. I had no spiritual life. And then in 1978, God touched my heart, touched my life, and made me alive with Him through Jesus Christ. And life has never been the same from that point on. With its problems, with issues, but with all the hope, the peace, and the joy in this world can afford, I say thank you, Lord. So my friends, this is Paul signing off. Let me say, until next time, may God richly bless you.